Assalamu alaikum. I'm Hadiqat Khalid from SRM Welkin of 10th standard. I'm here to deliver a lecture on carbon and its compounds from our chemistry book. I am delivering this lecture so as to help my fellow classmates who are trapped in their homes, who cannot go to school, who cannot even attend their tuitions because of the pandemic that has spread all over the world and is quite harmful. It's fatal even in many cases. So I want to help my classmates to understand this topic, and I'll try to explain this topic in the best possible ways I can. So in this section we'll be discussing carbon, general details about carbon, covalency, what is covalency, what are covalent bonds in compounds, and what is allotropy and what are the allotropic forms of carbon. So first of all, coming to the general details of carbon, first thing, it is a non-metal. It is a non-metal with atomic number 6. Atomic number 6 means that it has electronic configuration of K shell. In K shell it has 2 electrons, and in L shell it has 4 electrons. 4 electrons, so it's tetravalent, which means in the it has number of valence electrons is 4, so it's tetravalent. So these were the general details about carbon. Many other details are there. It is most abundant, okay, but in the Earth's crust it's only 0.02%, and in the atmosphere it's 0.03%. But it's very easily available, and it's most abundant form of non-metal that is present in Earth. So coming to the compounds that are formed by carbon, that are known as what we are concerned with, carbon and its compounds. The compounds that carbon forms are not ionic. It cannot form ionic compounds. So what's ionic compounds? We have already studied this, but for revisiting it, an ionic compound is that type of compound in which there is an actual transfer of electrons from one atom to another in order to form a compound that in which the number of the electrons are actually transferred. So it cannot form an ionic compound because of two reasons. It could either form C4 minus ionic compound, which is an anion, by gaining 4 electrons, or it can lose 4 electrons. It could actually lose 4 electrons to form a cation. But this is not possible in carbon's case because it has a valency of 4. So what happens what would happen if it would gain 4 electrons? The number of electrons that would be present in carbon would be 10, but the force of the repulsion between those electrons would be enormous, and the force that would be required to overcome those repulsions would also be high, which is not possible in carbon's case. So it cannot form an anion. So forming an anion is out of question. Cation, in case of cation, if it will lose 4 electrons, the cation that will be formed will be highly unstable. Why it would be highly unstable? Because there will be a large amount of energy that would be required to lose 4 electrons. So the cation formed would be highly unstable, and this cation is also out of question. So the question arises, if it forms compounds, and what type of compounds are they? They are covalent compounds. The answer to this question is quite simple, that they will form the carbon atom, it forms covalent compounds. So what are covalent compounds? A covalent compound is that type of compound in which there is no actual transfer of electrons, but there is a mutual sharing of electrons between 2 or more atoms. So when we come to the definition, it is of a covalent bond. It is a chemical bond that is formed between 2 or more atoms by mutual sharing of electrons, and no actual transfer of electron takes place. Why do atoms form a covalent bond? The answer is quite simple. Covalent bond, why does it get formed at the first place? It is because atoms want to acquire the nearest noble gas electronic configuration. So as to acquire nearest noble gas electronic configuration. So in order to acquire the nearest noble gas electronic configuration, atoms they form bonds. It can be ionic bond or covalent bond. But in case of carbon, a compound forming an ionic bond, it's out of question. So it's simple that it will form a covalent bond, or the compounds that are formed by covalent bonds are known as covalent compounds. So it will simply form covalent compounds. So one thing that comes in the general details of carbon, it's that it is tetrahedral. And this theory that it's tetrahedral, this discovery was actually done by J. Van't Hoff and C. Libel in 1874. In 1874, J. Van't Hoff and C. Libel, they discovered that the carbon has a structure that is tetrahedral. By tetrahedral, it means that the four valencies do not lie in the same plane. They form a tetrahedral structure like this. Like this. And the angle that is known as the tetrahedral angle, it's 109 degrees to 28 minutes. So this is the tetrahedral angle that is formed by carbon. So now coming again to the covalent bonds. Carbon is done. So we are with covalency. Covalent compounds. On the basis of number of shared electrons, there are three types of covalent bonds. On the basis of number of shared electrons, there are three types. And those three types are simple: single covalent bond, double covalent bond, and triple covalent bond. In a single covalent bond, the number of shared electrons by each atom is 1. So the number of electrons that are contributed by both the atoms, it's one pair, which means 2 electrons. As in hydrogen, H2, it is represented by a single line like this. As in H2, it shares 1 electrons with the other, and the other also does the same. So this is the bond that is formed in H2. In double covalent bond, simple, the number of electrons that are contributed by each atom, it's 2. So number of shared electrons is 4, and each atom shares 2 electrons. As in oxygen, in O2, the number of shared electrons is 4, so it is represented by a double line, and it's known as a double covalent bond. Third, triple covalent bond. In a triple covalent bond, the number of electrons that are shared is 3 by each atom. Each atom shares 3 electrons, each atom. So the number of electrons that are shared is 6 by both the electrons, and it's represented by a triple line. As in nitrogen, nitrogen shares 3 electrons with another nitrogen to form a triple covalent bond. That was on the basis of shared electrons. Now on the basis of bonding, there are 2 types of covalent bonds. First, non-polar covalent bonds, or simply covalent compounds. The non-polar covalent compounds, the molecules or compounds that are made, they are made up of same kinds of atoms, okay? Same kind of atoms. For example, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. They are non-polar covalent compounds. The next type is polar covalent compounds. in polar covalent compounds, the kind of atoms that are shared is different. Okay, so different kinds of atoms are shared. As in H2O, water is the most common polar compound. H2O, HCl, NH3 or NH4, etc. These are all polar covalent compounds. Now there are some characteristics of covalent compounds. In covalent compounds, the electrons are shared only. There is no actual transfer of electrons. That is, the electrons that are shared are localized. Okay, it remains between the two atoms. The covalent compounds, they are very strong bonds. They are made up of very strong bonds. They may be solids, liquids and gases. Unlike ionic compounds, they can be solids, liquids and gases. They have low boiling and melting points, and they are insoluble in all polar compounds. Okay, but there are some exceptions. Actually, they are soluble in covalent solvents, as in acetone, carbon tetrachloride. They are soluble in those solvents. Now they are generally bad conductors of electricity, and they react quite slowly. Okay, after that we have to study, these were the characteristics of the covalent bonds. Now we are also done with covalent compounds, covalency. We have done this part also. Now we are going to study the versatile nature of carbon. Carbon forms millions of compounds, and that is why it's known as a versatile atom, carbon. So the first nature by which it can be classified as a versatile atom, it's that catenation. Catenation means self-linking. Carbon has its strong capability or the capacity of self-linking. It can form large chains of carbon. It can be straight chain, it can be branched like this, carbon, carbon. Okay, it can also be cyclic, for example, like this. It can also be cyclic. So why catenation occurs? There are three reasons by which we can say that it occurs. The catenation is very strong in carbon. It's because of three reasons. It has unique electronic configuration, it has small size, and it forms strong carbon-carbon bonds. So that is why catenation occurs in carbon. So this was the first versatile nature of carbon. The other versatile nature of carbon, we can say, is formation of multiple bonds. It can form multiple bonds. For example, with carbon it can form single bonds as well as double bonds as well as triple bonds. With oxygen it forms a double bond. With nitrogen it forms a triple bond. So we can also say that because of the formation of multiple bonds with other atoms, it is a versatile. It has a versatile nature. Third thing by which we can say it's versatile, it's that it is covalent and forms a tetrahedral structure. By which it forms millions of compounds. The estimated number of carbon atoms that are found in the whole world, by which we can say it is versatile, that's also a versatile nature of carbon. It's 30 million compounds. 30 million compounds of carbon are formed. Another property is isomerism. Isomerism, when we go on to the definition, it's when a given molecular formula represents two or more structures having different properties. The properties are different, the molecular formula is also different, but the structures are also different, but the molecular formula is same. Okay, so different properties, different structure, but the same molecular formula. For example, if we talk about butane C4H10, I'll discuss it later in more detailed manner, but C4H10, it forms other, it can also be written as C5H12, etc. These are the isomers. Okay, isomerism will be discussed by me in detail in later on, but this for remembrance only, isomerism is also a versatile nature of carbon by which it forms millions of compounds. The fourth most important thing is allotropy, which we have to discuss later on. Okay, so allotropy is I will discuss it later on in a detailed manner, but if we go on to the definition, it is the phenomenon of existence of an element in two or more forms which have different physical properties but have identical chemical properties. So this is known as allotropy.